All right, so this is a suggestion via Discord. The name of the video is Exodus, the root of the Venezuelan migrant crisis. All right, let's go check it out. Let's see where this takes us immediately.
On a Monday morning at this New York City church, services may be over, but for some, salvation is just beginning. Families lined up around the block seeking basic necessities, support, and clarity at a nonprofit resource fair. It's a scene all too familiar across the country. Hotels and high schools turned into temporary shelters.
Nobody's in charge of the border, and nobody's in charge of the city.
Towns, big and small, stretched thin.
More than 30,000 arriving in Denver so far.
Outcry from overwhelmed mayors.
An international crisis of global population shift.
No city should be going through this, and it's not sustainable.
No, it is not.
The growing migrant crisis, the latest boiling point in America's immigration debate. Just this past December, encounters at the border reached a record high. One of the largest groups, Venezuelans, crossing over more times last year than any other on record, many seeking asylum.
When someone applies for asylum, they have a legal right to stay in the country until that asylum claim is heard.
Yeah, and that's what we need to fix. Like, I understand an absolute, if you need help, we can help you, right? But if you're not actually, qualified to even kind of, say you're seeking asylum, let's say, if you're an economic migrant, we need to do better with kind of discerning which is which kind of at the border. Not every single person that is coming over here is above board, all right?
The Venezuelan crisis is the biggest humanitarian crisis that most Americans have never heard of. We know about Syrians leaving because of the war. We know about Ukrainians leaving because of the Russian invasion. But roughly the same number of people have left Venezuela.
Hilary and Angel, both 21, arrived in New York from Caracas last year. Coming to America was never the ultimate dream.
Stop playing.
Muy complicado tener una vida estable. O sea, es el agua, la escasez también de medicamentos, medicina.
Okay. None of what she said would qualify for asylum.
Once a thriving nation, rich in oil money, Venezuela has plummeted into political and economic calamity following decades of corruption. The exodus, about a quarter of the country's population. More than 7 million Venezuelans have left their homeland since 2015, moving to other countries in Latin America, and most recently, to the United States.
They're running away from a situation that was impossible to stay in. And so they've arrived in the U.S. sometimes without a plan. And that's why this is the first time that we've seen migrants in a large number actually staying in shelters.
Tonight, we're across continents, following families as they weigh desperate options.
Es difícil hablar sobre lo que pasó a tu hija.
Mucho, sí.
Many forced to trek for days through a so-called highway of hell.
Guerrear y pa'lante con Dios.
They strive toward dreams that can feel further away with every step.
People are on the move more than they have been since World War II.
We're on the front lines in the fight to crack down on the human smuggling that is fueling record numbers at the border.
This is our work.
Even after a year in the States, it's hard to tell if life has gotten better for Hilary and her family. The foursome live in a room in this shelter. Hilary spends most of her days taking care of her 2 little girls, 2-year-old Dara and 1-year-old Emma, a U.S. citizen.
Se cayó. Ahí está.
She found out she was pregnant with Emma while walking through the Darien Gap.
Nosotros duramos 7 días para cruzar la selva como tal. Yo me sentía muy mal físicamente. Me dolía todo el cuerpo, los pies los tenía hinchados. La insolación.
Hilary is one of nearly 480,000 Venezuelans who have crossed through the Darien since 2022. One of the most punishing terrains on Earth, it connects Colombia to Panama, allowing people to eventually reach the United States. 7 months after crossing through, Hilary gave birth to Emma in the U.S.
Es que agradezco enormemente que ella haya nacido aquí. No tanto por la nacionalidad.
She says she's extremely, basically, she's happy that the kid was born here, but not so much because of the nationality. Let's see where this goes.
Sino por la diferencia.
Because of the difference in the hospital.
En el hospital, de cómo fue todo, a cómo hubiese sido en Venezuela.
And of course, how everything was in Venezuela. Like, listen, I my heart absolutely goes out for the people that are suffering through Venezuela in general, right? But I think my main issue here is that there are so many other places, right, that could absolutely help also. Right, and the facts are that everyone just seems to be rushing towards the southern border. And I think that's pretty much where the problem lies. Why, specifically, the United States of America at this time in the United States of America, where the overall population of the people are suffering, right, through this inflationary event that we're currently suffering through, guys. Right, this is the worst time for us. And the fact that they also mentioned in the beginning that they're closing down high schools to basically give migrants high schools, you're taking away from the citizens that have paid into the taxes to then give it to people who would never have paid into the taxes. It's the wildest thing in the world, guys.
Thousands of miles from Hilary and her daughters is another Venezuelan mother, also in a foreign country, dreaming of more.
Es muy difícil, pero tú te miras en el espejo, miras la cantidad de kilos que tú has rebajado. Ahí es donde te das cuenta, si hay una crisis. Entonces, tenemos que huir.
Milady and her family fled to Colombia 6 years ago. Her husband, Hugo, works as a delivery driver.
All right.
She is up at 4 a.m., cooking stews, sauces, and empanadas on her small stove to sell.
20 calles, entre ida y vuelta. Y ahí voy vendiendo ya
vendiendo
las vías.
En las esquinas a los...
Sí, en construcciones, a los obreros. Acá está muy difícil. El sueldo que uno se gana, el sueldo mínimo, no rinde. O sea, rinde para lo justo, el arriendo, los servicios y comida.
All right, so basically, here's the thing. What she's saying is that she only makes enough money to basically pay for rent, utilities, and food. That's the overwhelming majority of Americans. That's just the reality, right? And I think people that are from outside of the United States of America perceive Americans specifically to be excessively wealthy. And the reason why I'm pointing this out is because, guys, I have over 140 passport stamps. I've been to the majority of the world, guys. And the issue with that is I know what people perceive. Right? Everyone seems to think that every single American in America is driving, Lamborghinis and shopping on Rodeo Drive. That's what I'm telling you. And then have multiple houses on Fifth Avenue and in Vail, Colorado, and in the Hamptons. That's what the perception is for some reason, and that reason is obviously because of American movies. So people from outside of the country see these American movies and think that everyone has that exact life. But the reality is the overwhelming majority of Americans can barely put savings away. The overwhelming majority of Americans do not have over $1,000 in their savings to cover an emergency event. Okay? And all their money is going to rent, utilities, and food. That's the reality. And so when I say that this is all happening at probably one of the worst times in our history, currently at least, our current history, this is really not a good thing that's happening. It's going to be brought up in the election debates. I'm almost positive, right? Because the current president is absolutely allowing this to happen, allowing it. You can't add so much to our national debt and then say, you know what we're going to do? We're going to now harm every single major city in the United States of America, weakening it, basically. Guys, come on.
No rinde. O sea, rinde para lo justo, el arriendo, los servicios y comida. Ya.
Short on just
That's
about
called being
everything,
an adult.
but love.
Dile chao a tus amiguitos.
Colombia is the only home little Miguel has ever known.
¿Qué prefieres?
¿Quieres quedarte aquí? Sí. Countries like Colombia and Peru have taken in more Venezuelans than the United States.
We have to give credit to countries like Colombia. They've given temporary protected status to more than 2.5 million Venezuelans. They are providing health care. They are providing education. So that is a part of the solution, the integration of migrants into these countries throughout Latin America. It's a regional approach, and we need to support it.
Brendan O'Brien is Deputy Chief of Mission at the U.S. Embassy in Colombia. The U.S. government has committed almost $1 billion in Colombia's effort to resettle Venezuelan migrants.
What do you think is missing from the conversation in the United States when we're talking about easing the crisis at the border?
We're looking at expanding legal pathways, and that would be work visas or opportunities for asylum into the United States, right? And then in the long term, I think it's really important for the U.S. taxpayer to understand that their investment overseas at these embassies is really paying off, because it's
doesn't sound like it, doesn't feel like it either. Because if you're saying, yeah, please more, while all of the major cities in America are currently saying, please stop, except for Denver, I mean, this seems like an issue here. You're saying one thing, and then all the other mayors are saying the complete opposite.
It's a lot less expensive to address this issue in these countries than it is at the U.S. border.
So many migrants here in Colombia rely on the kindness of strangers just to survive everyday life. But it's also true that after years of hosting Venezuelan migrants, Colombian society as a whole is not as charitable as it used to be. And
that happened really fast here. Okay? It happened really fast. I understand the countries that are closest to Venezuela are the countries that got the most of the entirety of the country, because, guys, apparently the country has fallen, and every single one of their citizens are trying to get out of the country. I get that, right? But again, we cannot take an entire country's population of people, bro.
Colombia's economy also not as strong as it once was. Unable to make ends meet, Milady and her family are now trying to save money to move again and head north to the United States.
¿Qué piensas sobre una vida en los Estados Unidos? ¿Qué piensas? ¿Qué pasa por tu mente cuando piensas en los Estados Unidos?
Una casa.
¿Una casa? ¿Una casa grande o chica?
A big house.
Una casa grande.
¿Una casa grande?
Listening
white fence
to their children dream puts a smile on their parents' faces. But Dad Hugo knows all too well how painful the journey ahead can be. 2 years ago, he headed north through the Darien Gap and made it to the border of Guatemala and Mexico, but he says he was forced to turn back by Mexican authorities.
Cuando piensas ahora en lo que pasó en su regreso aquí, ¿qué pasa por tu mente? ¿Cuáles emociones?
Cosa dura, difícil, cosa que yo nunca en mi vida pensé hacer. Yo dormía en la calle. A mí me regalaron una bolsa de caramelo para que yo pidiera plata en la calle. Yo no me salían las palabras para quería regresar a ver mis hijos.
But still, the parents say they need to try again.
Este viaje va a ser difícil para ti, obviamente, y para tu esposo, pero para los niños...
Va a ser más difícil, yo sé.
Más difícil.
Sí, mucho, mucho más difícil, claro, ellos son niños, pero el que quiere puede. Entonces mis hijos quieren. Y hay un dicho que dice, el que no arriesga no gana. Entonces nosotros queremos arriesgar para poder ganar.
Coming up, inside that treacherous journey north, the peril and the danger. Plus,
entire area is controlled by organized crime.
What the U.S. government is doing in Colombia to crack down on human smugglers.
I think whatever we're doing is not enough in Colombia, apparently, because they're still trafficking in a sense. Yeah, it's still happening. Now listen, so what did we learn today? I definitely understand that the country of Venezuela basically has fallen. It fell many years ago. I think we all can pretty much understand that. But I think the main issue here for me, at least, again, that we cannot take the entire country. We can't. We can't. We guys, we cannot. If you literally listen to the mayor of New York say too much, the governor of Florida say the same thing, like, bro, stop. And then the mayor of Chicago, the main places where everyone is basically flooding, while the people that have been paying into taxes or people that were already impoverished in the area were always told how things could never get fixed. This could never get fixed. This could never get done. Right? Then all of a sudden you'll find money in the budget to take care of basically an entire country of people. It seems you cannot tell the people who have been paying into taxes that things cannot get done and then immediately do them when a new group comes. Guys, it's crazy. All right? Just an opinion, obviously, guys. But all right, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly. Guys, before we go, are you guys subscribed to the other channels? Logical Movie Reviews with Mr. L. Boyd along with Mr. L. Boyd Music. Both are found in the description. Check it out.